I don't want to wait until the room is full. Are you able to hear me? And can you see me on the camera? I can't hear you. I think you're muted. Can you give me a thumbs up, yes or no? Okay. But you can't see my camera, or can you? Okay.
Okay, welcome everybody to the April 29th, 2026 Public Education Board meeting. I'd like to start by acknowledging with respect the lands on which we live, work, play, and learn as the traditional and unceded territories of the Gitxsan, Haisla, Nisga'a, and Tsimshian peoples. We're honored to work with their children and families and privileged to live on these lands. Today we gather in Terrace, where we are on lands of the Tsimshian peoples. I'm leaning forward because the sun is beautiful coming in here, but if I lean forward over top of my notes, I can see the screen. So welcome everybody to the meeting. We are virtually recording and able for people to be watching on our YouTube channel. And I have a few announcements to share. We've been all busy since our last board meeting, and there's been lots happening in spring for our students, our staff, and our families, including that we celebrated the Easter weekend. Also, at the end of March, it was National Indigenous Languages Day, which provided lots of opportunities to recognize and celebrate the importance of our Indigenous peoples. This work continues to be an important part of supporting our identity, culture, and learning across our district, in partnership and collaboration with our local First Nation. In April, there was lots happening in my community of Terrace for Earth Day. There was highway cleanup, and there was all kinds of cleanup with George Little Park. I was impressed with our community and the amount that our families, our community members, our students did with collecting for Earth Day, cleaning up our town. It was really impressive. Plus, I did see from school newsletters lots of specific activities were being done in the school, but it's great to see. I believe we have no guests today that way, so we'll start by just introducing the board of directors or the board of trustees. I'll start with myself, Margaret Morgan, the board chairperson, and I'll go to my left.
Angie Maitland's trustee for Kitimat. Karen Yeoman, trustee from Kitimat.
And Wayne.
Wayne Jones, trustee from Stewart.
And Ed from far away.
Ed Harrison, trustee from Terrace.
And Mike. Don't hear you, Mike.
There, how's that?
Yes.
Yeah, Mike Maxim, trustee for Thornhill, on the traditional unceded territories of the Kitsilano Nation, which I noticed that our chairperson has failed to mention again.
Okay, I believe I'm mentioning it when I speak about the Tsimshian peoples, but I can break it down for you. I'll try and remember to do so. And we do have Terry Marlowe from the CMF. Oh, you going to introduce yourself? CMTF? Nope, he's busy there. Welcome to the other guests on screen, and I'll turn to our superintendent to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Tracy McMillan, superintendent. As well from the education team, we have starting with Philip Barron.
Good afternoon, everyone. Philip Barron, Director of Instruction, Learning Services.
Julia Nakars.
Good afternoon, everybody. Julia Nakars, Instruction and Inclusive Education.
Donna Mortimer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Donna Mortimer, Director of Instruction.
On the screen as well, I see we have joining us our Vice Principal, Ryan McCann. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello, yeah. Oh, sorry.
And Ginger.
Kim
Robinson. Kim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, I wasn't too sure if you were just listing off names online. Kim Robinson, I'm vice chair of the Indigenous Education Council.
Thank you. Welcome. I am Ginger Fuller. I'm the Secretary Treasurer for School District 82. And with me I have.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ronald Shibley, and I'm the Director of Facilities Services.
And we also have Lindsay Harder, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and the Board. Welcome, Lindsay.
Okay, did we miss anybody? Just a couple of things at the end of our public board meeting. We do have the question period for the public, and the questions must pertain to the agenda and can be presented in person at our meetings as well. Our next meeting, by the way, is in Stewart. And if you wish to present to us, you need to let Lindsay Harder, our Executive Assistant, know of that request. Questions or comments about personnel issues, individuals, or property acquisitions are not appropriate for the public meeting. A written response may be chosen to be used if an answer to the questions they don't necessarily get answered at the time of the meeting. And a reminder just to the trustees, at the end of the meeting, we'll have the trustees share any reports that they may have. And our next meeting will be May 27th, 2026 at Bear Valley Studio in Stewart. I would like now to call the meeting to order, and we do have a quorum. I do know that Julia has given her regrets and can't attend the meeting tonight. So if I could have a motion for the approval of the agenda, which is number 3. Would someone please move? Thank you, Angie. Second, Karen. Any additions or changes to the agenda that anybody sees? Seeing no hands, all in favor? Thank you. Mike, are you going to vote today?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have number 4, the regular meeting of the Board of Directors, February 25th, 2026. The minutes, I need a motion to receive these minutes. Thank you, Ed. Second, Aaron. All in favor of receipt of the motion, of a receipt of the minutes on February 25th? And passed. Thank you. Next is the special regular meeting of the board held March 2nd, 2026. On page 14 and 15, a motion to receive, please. Angie. Second. Somebody, please. Oh, Karen, thank you. All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Thanks, Wade. Next is the special regular meeting of the board held March 30th, 2026. And it's on page 16 to 19. A motion to receive, please. So Karen, second, Ed. All in favor? Thanks. Next is 5.1, the summary of the in-camera meeting held February 25th, 2026. And I have a motion to receive, please. Yeah, thank you. Second, Wayne. All in favor? Passed. Now we have Donna Morton, our Director of Instruction of Indigenous Education, presenting on pages 46 to 48. Thank you, Martin.
I'm just going to share my screen. My presentation. Yeah. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. So today I'll be presenting about the Aboriginal report, our convening report for 2024-2025 highlights. The How Are We Doing report is an annual Ministry of Education and Childcare publication that provides detailed data on the educational outcomes of Indigenous youth in British Columbia. The report is a snapshot that helps us understand how Indigenous students are doing in our schools. It looks at key areas like literacy, numeracy, graduation rates, and post-secondary transitions. It's really meant to support local conversations. It gives us a clearer picture of what's working, where we need to grow, and how we can work together to improve outcomes. It also helps ensure we work accountable and tracking progress over time. Before we dive further into the data, I want to quickly highlight where this information comes from. The data in the How Are We Doing report is pulled from several key sources provided by the Ministry of Education and Childcare. This includes results in provincial assessments, like the Foundational Skills Assessment, or as they say, FSA, which gives us insight into student achievement in literacy and at grades 4 and 7. It also includes data on transition rates, graduation and completion rates, and other key indicators that help us understand how students are moving through K-12 systems. This information is compiled annually and shared in district level prevention, profits, rights, and supports. It's one of the tools the NEF also uses to monitor progress and advocate for support and improve outcomes for Indigenous learners. So while the data gives us a snapshot, it is important to remember it's just one part of a much larger story. And the best used alongside what we know from our schools, families, and communities. Beyond that, the report looks at course marks, completion rates, and how many students go to post-secondary and after school, after high school. All of this is pulled together to give us a clear picture of how Indigenous students are doing both academically and in terms of long-term outcomes. These data points are disaggregated to compare outcomes between Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, and further broken down by on-reserve and off-reserve residency where applicable. This comprehensive approach helps educators and decision makers, such as the ministry, to identify areas of success and those requiring targeted supports. The provincial How Are We Doing report are also closely reviewed by FNES as they help inform province-wide strategies to improve outcomes for Indigenous learners. This slide reminds us how Indigenous student data is collected. It is based on self-identification. This includes First Nation students living on and off reserve, as well as Métis and Inuit students. In Coast Mountain School District, the majority of our Indigenous learners live off reserve, with about 3 times as many off reserve as on reserve students. Understanding this breakdown helps us think about how and where supports are needed in both contexts. Total students, 4,290. Students who would self-identify as Aboriginal this year, which is the 2025, 2024, 2025 year, just to clarify, is 2,036. This is 47.5% of all students in the district. Students who identify as Aboriginal in previous years, but not this year, is 85. Sorry. This is 2% of all students. That is right. Province, all of BC public schools, total students, 604 6,738 students. Students who would self-identify as Aboriginal this 2024-2025 year, 68,098 students. This is 11.3% of the provincial student population. Students who identify in previous years, but not this year, was 4,417. This is a 0.7% of all students. The number of students on and off reserve. This is just a graph you can observe the trends. On reserve students, numbers fluctuate slightly but remain relatively stable over time. 2020-2021 saw the lowest number at 474 students. In 2024-2025, there was 589 on-reserve students, a slight increase from 559 in 2023-2024, but still higher than earlier years. Off-reserve students, numbers have remained consistently high over the 5 years. Peaked in 2023-2024 at 1,596 students. In 2024-2025, off-reserve students were 1,514, a slight decrease from the previous year. On-reserve student numbers fluctuate slightly but remain relatively stable over time. I'm repeating myself. Interpretation. Approximately 3/4 of Indigenous students in this district reside off reserve. While on-reserve numbers vary slightly, the majority of growth and consistency in Indigenous enrollment appears to be off reserve. This emphasizes the importance of ensuring supports and services are equitably available across the district, not just in reserve-based communities. So FSA literacy at grade 4. In grade 4 literacy, we had strong participation. 251 students wrote the assessment across the district. Among Aboriginal students, 40% are meeting or exceeding expectations. For non-Aboriginal students, the number is 68%. We can see a gap of 28% points in literacy achievement at the early stage. These results help us identify where support is most needed to strengthen foundational reading and comprehension skills. FSA literacy at grade 4. This indicates a significant need for targeted numeracy support. In grade 4, numeracy, 251 students across the district participated in the assessment. Only 31% of our Aboriginal students are meeting or exceeding expectations, compared to 71% of non-Aboriginal students. That's a 40-point gap, and it signals a need for deeper focus on early numeracy skills and culturally responsive math instruction. This is a critical area where targeted support can make a lasting difference. FSA literacy at grade 7. The highlights us continued concern around reading and literacy development through the middle years. We had strong participation again this year. 95% of Aboriginal students wrote the assessment, which is encouraging. Of those 145 students, 69% were at the emerging level and 31% were on track. No students reached the extending level. Among non-Aboriginal students, among non-Aboriginal students, 155 participated with an even higher participation rate of 97%. Of those students, 37% were emerging, 62% on track, and 1% were extending. This means that while under half of Aboriginal learners are currently meeting literacy expectations, the majority of non-Aboriginal learners are doing so, about 62%. So again, we see a noticeable gap, and we also see that none of the Aboriginal students are reaching the highest level of proficiency. These results highlight that while literacy outcomes are stronger than numeracy, there's still important work to do, particularly ensuring that Aboriginal learners not only meet expectations, but have the opportunity to thrive and excel. FSA numeracy at grade 7. This signals a critical area of concern for math instruction and intervention at the intermediate level. Let's take a look at the grade 7 numeracy result for this year. Starting with our Aboriginal learners, we had 145 students participate, which is a strong 95% participation rate. Of those students, 87% were assessed at the emerging level, and only 18% met expectations by being on track. No students reached the extending level. For non-Aboriginal students, 153 wrote the assessment with a participation rate at 96%. 56% of those students were at the emerging level, while 42% were on track and 2% were extending. When we compare these results, we see a significant gap. Only 12% of Aboriginal students are currently meeting expectations compared to 44% of their non-Aboriginal peers. That's nearly a 32-point difference. These results are revealing. They tell us that numeracy is a challenge across the board, but especially for our Aboriginal learners. This is a clear call to action. We need to focus our support, rethink our approach, and work alongside communities to ensure our learners aren't falling through the cracks. Grade 10 literacy assessment. The grade 10 literacy assessment results from this 2024-2025 year. We're seeing some positive trends in participation. 68% of Aboriginal students wrote the assessment this year, up from 57% in 2021. But when we look at the achievement, only 43% of Aboriginal students are currently meeting or exceeding expectations, compared to 68% of non-Aboriginal students. Nearly half of Aboriginal students are in the developing category, meaning they're on the path, but not yet at grade level expectation. And 16% are in the emerging category, which signals foundational gaps in literacy. The gap between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal learners is significant, but decreasing from 25% compared to 34% points last year. And it's most pronounced in the upper performance levels. This tells us that while more students are engaging in the assessment, we need to focus on lifting outcomes, especially moving students from developing into proficient. That will take intentional support, relevant instruction, and strong relationships. Grade 10 numeracy assessment. The grade 10 numeracy assessment results from the 2024-2025 school year. We had 63% of Aboriginal students and 93% of non-Aboriginal students take the assessment. which gives us a fairly clear picture of where students are at. For Aboriginal students, 20% are meeting or exceeding expectations, with 81% in the emergent or developing categories. That's deeply concerning and signals the need for much stronger support in numeracy at the secondary level. But it's important to note that the numbers for non-Aboriginal students are also very poor. Only 43% are proficient or extending, meaning that 57% are not yet meeting expectations. 14% of those students are still at the emerging level. So while there is a performance gap between groups, what this really shows is that we have a system-wide numeracy problem. It is not isolated to one demographic. Both groups of students are struggling to demonstrate proficiency in numeracy by grade 10. This is a call to action, not just to close gaps, but to raise the bar for all students. Numeracy support, instruction, and intervention need to be re-examined at every level, especially in middle and secondary years. The grade 10 numeracy assessment data reviews a dual challenge. A persistent gap between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal students, 11% versus 35%, meeting expectations, and overall low achievement across both groups. While equity efforts must address the disappropriate impact on Aboriginal learners, the data also points to a system-wide shortfall in numeracy outcome. True equity means not only closing the gap, but raising the floor for all students. The district has made a commitment to begin developing a comprehensive numeracy framework. This work will focus on strengthening instructional practices, aligning supports across grade levels, and ensuring all learners, particularly those who have been historically underserved, have the opportunity to build strong, confident numeracy skills. And over the years, there is a gradual movement in numeracy achievement, with the students moving from emergent into developing and proficient over time. The developing category remains the largest group, indicating many students are close to meeting expectations but need targeted support. Proficient levels are increasing, showing positive progress in foreign numeracy skills. The extending category remains small, suggesting a need to further challenge high achieving students. Grade 12 literacy assessment. That took fast. The graduation literacy assessment, which is a graduation requirement that evaluates students' ability to think critically, analyze text, and communicate effectively. Participation was 65% for Aboriginal students and 87% for non-Aboriginal students, which gives us a fairly representative picture of performance. Among Aboriginal students, 54% are meeting or exceeding expectations. That includes 52% proficient and 2% extending. While that's encouraging compared to some other assessment areas, it still means nearly half are not yet where we want them to be. A full 43% of Aboriginal students are in the developing range, meaning they're close, but not quite there. And 3% are in the emerging category, which is a decrease from 2023 to 2024. This shows improvement to the higher levels. In comparison, 74% of non-Aboriginal students are meeting or exceeding expectations. Notably, 16% are in the extending category, and only 2% are emerging. So while more than half our Aboriginal learners are finding success on this assessment, the equity gap is decreasing, a 20-point difference overall. This reinforces the importance of continued literacy support all the way through to graduation, not just to get students to the proficient level, but to empower more to reach extending. That means strong instruction, confidence in learning, and culturally grounded learning experiences. Aboriginal students' performance in grade 12 literacy is relatively strong than in other assessments. In 2023-24, there is a 28-point gap between Aboriginal 54% and non-Aboriginal 82%. Students meeting or exceeding expectations in 2024-2025, there's a 20-point gap. That signifies movement among Aboriginal students toward higher levels of achievement. Aboriginal students are less likely to reach the extending level and more likely to be in developing range. While over half of Aboriginal students are meeting expectations, the gap is in exceeding level literacy achievement remains substantial. Progress of students entering grade 8 in September 2029. Oh, 2019, sorry. Thank you. The slide shows the progression of students who entered grade 8 in 2019-2020 and how they moved through the secondary system, comparing Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal learners. As we can see, all students, both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal, started off strong. In grade 8 and 9, nearly 100% of students progressed to the next level, next grade. But starting in grade 10, we began to see a real divergence. For Aboriginal students, progression drops from 93% to 78% into grade 11. By grade 12, only 52 continues. Sorry, I'm gonna look at I made a mistake here. 54 continue on, and just 69% completion within the expected time. In contrast, non-Aboriginal students maintain much higher progression and completion rates, with 96% completing. That's a 27-point gap in overall completion between the two groups. We also see a gender gap within the Aboriginal group. Female students complete at a rate of 77%, while only 60% of males do. What this tells us is that we need to pay very close attention to the critical years between grade 9 and 12, especially for Aboriginal learners. These are the years where support, connection, and culturally safe learning environments can make all the difference. This data isn't just a set of numbers. It's a clear call to reflect on how we support students as they move through adolescence and prepare for their future. We have to ask, what structures are lifting students up? What barriers are still in place? Completion rate 5 years. The 5-year completion rate tells us how many students graduate within 5 years of starting grade 8. For Aboriginal students, the completion rate in 2024-2025 was 51%. We saw a decline over the past few years, dropping to about 41%, with a small recovery this year. There's also a significant gender gap, with girls graduating at a much higher rate than boys. Non-Aboriginal students, in comparison, non-Aboriginal students have consistently strong completion rates, reaching 94% this year, where there was a slight dip after 2020. Rates have rebounded and remain high. The gender difference here is smaller, with both boys and girls graduating at similar rates. Key message, equity insight. The most important takeaway in this large and persistent gap between groups. This year, there is about 43-point difference in completion rates. Despite strong early engagement, Aboriginal students are not completing at the same rate. This highlights the need for targeted sustained support, especially for Aboriginal boys and students grade 10 to 12. Completion rate, 6 years. The 6-year completion rate tells us how many students graduate within 6 years of starting grade 8. Aboriginal students, the 6-year completion rate is 69%, which is an improvement from recent years. However, it is still below earlier highs, so progress is uneven. This is a clear gender gap with there is a clear gender gap with girls graduating at higher rates than boys. When we look at the Dogwood only, the rate drops to 59%, showing that some students need more time or different paths. The adult Dogwood pathway adds about 10%, but it does not fully close the gap. Non-Aboriginal students have a very high completion rate of 96%, which has stayed consistent over time. Graduation rates are strong for both boys and girls, with very little difference between them. Most students graduate on time, with 95% completing the Dogwood. Very few rely on alternative pathways like Dogwood. Overall, non-Aboriginal students are about 27% more likely to graduate within 6 years. When Aboriginal completion rates are improving, there is still a significant and ongoing gap, especially for boys. Often when interpreting data, data helps us see patterns and gaps, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Behind every number are students, families, and communities with strengths and lived experiences. Caution is needed, especially when small group sizes, where one student can significantly shift the data. We must interpret data with humility and responsibility. This is not about blame, but about seeing clearly where support is needed and responding together in a good way. Understanding participation. These numbers reflect only students who wrote the FSA or participated in the ministry assessments, not the full student enrollment. Results may be influenced by student absences or exemptions, small sample sizes, especially in subgroup comparisons. Caution is needed when drawing conclusions. Data trends are more reliable when viewed over time and alongside qualitative insights. A message of responsibility in action. The data shows us an important and honest reality. While many of our students are succeeding, too many of our Aboriginal learners have not yet experienced the same level of success. Particularly in graduation and completion rates, this gap is not about potential. It reflects a need for us to strengthen how we support students across their learning journey, especially in key areas like literacy, numeracy, engagement, and belonging. At the same time, this data gives us direction. By naming it, understanding it, and working together, we can take meaningful and focused action. This aligns directly with our commitment in Golden Mountain School District to ensure success for every learner through inclusive, culturally responsive, and equitable practices. As we move forward, we are intentionally strengthening our tiered support approach, building strong universal supports, tier 1, in every classroom, expanding targeted supports to 2 for students needing additional help, providing intensive individualized support where needed. Tier 3, there will be a particular focus on middle school transitions where we know engagement can shift and where early intervention can have the greatest impact. For our work will center on supporting students, culturally strengthening identity, belonging, and connection, socially and emotionally building relationships, safety, and well-being, academically ensuring students stay on track and experience success. This is a shared responsibility. It calls on all of us to respond with purpose, commitment, and care so that every student, especially our Aboriginal learners, can thrive, graduate, and move forward with confidence and choice. Thank you.
Thank you. So any questions for Donna, if she's willing to take them, or if we can't answer them now, we can share. There's a lot of information. I've read the report a couple of times myself, just trying to analyze all the data. Numbers sometimes don't make sense to me. So I appreciate your interpretation of them for us. and the vision that you have for our work. Any questions? Mike, if you have one, go ahead.
Yeah. This, and I'm not thinking about the Aboriginal versus non-Aboriginal at this time, or Indigenous. I'm thinking about the overall systemic problem. Is this province-wide and more pronounced in our district than the rest of the province, or is the province producing historically high numbers and we're lagging behind? How far does the systemic problem go?
I do not have the percentages or the data for the province, why for everything, but we could get back to you with that question.
Okay. A follow-up question. I'm wondering if the bar has been lowered over the years to make it look as if this problem that we have is not as serious as it actually is.
I don't think so, but there has things that have heard that would affect things, but again, I could look into that and get back to you.
Yeah, we'll take the question, Mike. It's a deep question to answer.
Okay, I appreciate the fact that all of the material in today's agenda is pointing to the fact that we do have a problem, and hopefully we will start looking at some solutions.
Thank you, Mike.
Any further questions from trustees? I don't see any. Thank you very much for the presentation. Pulling it all together, it was a lot of data to walk us through. Great, back on the agenda, and we're going to correspondence, and we have 7.1. We've received letters from Hey Krishna, the Deputy Minister. We've received the Enhancing Student Learning Report, and we've received the 2024-2025 Aboriginal How Are We Doing report, and they're on pages 55, 59, and 78 to 94. And I need a motion to receive the correspondence. So moved. Karen, seconder. Angie, all in favor of receipt? Thank you, Pat. We now move to the Superintendent of Schools monthly report on pages 94 to 97.
Thank you. And as we move through the spring months, students across the districts are actively engaged in a number of meaningful activities. And hopefully, as you move through each of these articles, you can also make the connections to how they are addressing and enhancing literacy, numeracy, STEM activities, language and culture, and making those connections with what the district is doing to address some of those not only district but provincial systemic concerns with our student learning. So beginning on page 64 and 75, music is definitely alive across Post Mountain School District. It continues to thrive, and I want to extend a special thank you to our community partners and organizations such as the Dare to Dream program, Terrace and Thornhill Music Parents for Music Society, and the Northwest Pacific Musical Festival. They include our learners and support. I've attended quite a few of their performances, practices in the classrooms. And again, the kids are exceptional. And remembering that when they're engaging in those activities, there is numeracy, there is literacy skills that they are working on. Continuing on with bridge building competition that was held in Kitimat at the high school, and students showcased their applied learning and problem solving as they tested classroom design bridges in regional hands-on competition. And a special thank you to Kim Wilkinson. She facilitated not only this, but the robotics competition. It was really interesting to see the testing of the bridges. And I learned something new myself, that not only are the strength of the bridge through the PSIs measured, but they have a category for presentation. And they had bridges that were like laid out with like rhinestones and art designs, and it was just, again, incredible. On page 68, you'll find information about the Brightspace transition with North Coast Distance Education and enhancing more flexible and consistent online learning opportunities. And of course, we have transitioned that to the D2L Brightspace learning platform. On page 68 and 69, you will read about the numeracy focus group. And this is being facilitated by our director, Philip Barron, with a number of teachers and various staff that are helping out. And we are in the first year of looking at that framework. Again, another way that the district is looking to enhance and improve the gap in numeracy. On page 70, you will read about the robotics in action across the district, which came together again in a competition, and that also was in Kitimat at the high school. But students from grade 3 to 12 from right across the district participated in that. On page 71, Uplands Elementary School, we had staff there demonstrating their compassion and community spirit by supporting the Tumbler Ridge community through a collective initiative, and they all purchased special t-shirts. Page 71, you will read about feedback that we received from the Integrated Child and Youth team. So again, our district was part of that pilot program that falls under Director Julia McCars, and it was the leader of the ICY team that sent us emails and feedback about the positive work that is happening at Cassie Hall, thanks to our school administrators, Erica Barton and Kendra LeBlanc. Page 72, learning, culture, and community at New Hazelton Elementary. So again, you'll notice there and the photos of the kids focusing on improving literacy, cultural learning, and student leadership with positive community connections, and just how the community is supporting the students at school. Page 73, active living, cultural learning, and spring carnival at Kitlonga Elementary. So again, take a look at the evidence in the photos of how the students are engaging in physical activity, Gitsen culture and learning, and a number of community events, including physical activity, and most recently through their outdoor spring carnival and the Color Spirit Day. Page 74, fun and friendship at Thornhill Primary School. So again, here are the learners building skills, partnerships, hands-on activities, again, nature walks, swimming lessons, and lessons at the Terrace Peaks Gymnastics. Page 74, 75, French immersion students from grades 5 to 12 demonstrated their strong language skills and confidence in the public speaking at the Concours Regional, which is again a different type of competition. And we wish Natalie Wilson good luck next week as she attends a provincial competition, Concours d'Oratoire. And a really special piece celebrating student leadership and mentorship on page 77 and 78. And this story highlights just the power of student leadership. And this student in particular is deaf and hard of hearing, and he's supporting and mentoring other learners, helping them to build understanding and confidence and inclusion within our school communities. So again, we're really grateful for Jacob and his willingness to lead, support others, and share his story. And as always, on page 79 are our ongoing considerations. So in addition to celebrating the successes and the work that we're trying to move forward, we also want to share the updates and important areas of work that we are including to improve in areas such as student attendance procedures, upcoming work we have scheduled in the area of artificial intelligence, recruitment and retention updates, and the inclusive education audit that will be conducted next week by the Ministry of Education and Child Care. They will be here on site in the district. So a lot of work has gone into that and in all of the other projects that are listed. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your report. We've received this report for information. Is there any questions for our superintendent? Don't see any questions, so all in favor of receiving the report? Thank you. And then we can move on to the Indigenous Education Report, which is also presented by our superintendent. I believe it's on page 95.
Thank you very much. So again, this is highlighting a number of areas and work pertaining to Indigenous education, which falls under our director, Donna Mortimer. So looking at the first page, we're always appreciative and acknowledge the elders, student support workers, knowledge holders, and our administrators and teachers in the schools that help make these events possible. Page 85, you will find the director's message and highlighting a lot of the strong community partnerships and support across the district. As well, we have celebrating cultural events and partnerships. So for example, at Kildala School in Kitimat, they finished a mural and had a celebration for that. A lot of student engagement, elders. It is just beautiful. So you can see that in your report. Also on page 87, attendance and engagement focus. So a number of activities are listed that help improve student attendance and engagement. In particular, we're also sharing and featuring the addition of a new Indigenous outreach worker in Kitimat. And Carlos has been appointed in this position, and he continues to support students and families through relationship building and trauma-informed approaches. On page 88 and 89, you'll see some information about what's going on with Caledonia and Skeena Middle School and the Hobier celebrations. On page 90, at Suluax School here at the Terrace, again, a number of students taking part on land-based activities. They're exploring local plants and cultural knowledge alongside family members. Page 91 is featuring feast protocol and leadership at Kitwanga Elementary, where local elder knowledge keeper Calvin Sims supported the students learning about governance, respect, and community roles. Also on page 92, you'll see the terrific work of Kitwanga Elementary students, hands-on activities that's helping to build their cultural awareness. On page 93, you'll get to see about the Thornhill Primary Land-Based Learning and partnerships with K5T as they explore seasonal practices and cultural knowledge. And on page 94, also highlighted is the storytelling and cedar preparation, which is supporting the hands-on learning and traditional approaches. At Caledonia Secondary on page 95, features the highlights from an Ulakan harvest, where the students participated in this with knowledge keepers from Kits and Caleb, as well as several community partners. Nechako Elementary, creative expressions, and this activity was a challenge. So they had to work within sort of structured parameters. They did a great job with that. Page 97 at Hazelton Secondary, elders are supporting students exploring their identity and family connections through interactive learning. And on page 98 and 99, you will find the list of the Indigenous targeted funded projects, as well as the Elder and Knowledge Holder Role Model Program. Thank you.
Okay. This report is given to us for information, but is there any questions? Don't see any. Are we all in favor of receipt of this report? We now move on to the Indigenous Education Council, which is a verbal report. Kim, do you have a report for us, or there's nothing in the package?
I do. It's just
Great.
information
Well,
for everybody. I apologize. My camera is not cooperating with me.
okay, your voice comes through clearly, so go for it.
Okay. So I will go through this report that I have. I'm the vice chair of the Indigenous Education Council. Jericho apologized, she can't be in attendance. Since our last meeting, we hosted three meetings through February, March, and April. And in our meetings, we include members of the district, Donna and Ginger, to be clear, as we plan for improving supports and resources for Indigenous children within the district and the funding that we have, and layout and understanding of what the expectation is and protocol moving forward. Our terms of reference were reviewed. It's a live document as we move forward amongst each other through each nation and determining how we represent ourselves in supporting the schools and the development of successful Indigenous learners. We've requested inclusion for review of the ISW job description to ensure that we have a strong aligned support for Indigenous students and alignment across Coast Mountain School District 82 for services and resources that are related to culture and academic needs. We have a job posting for an external secretariat position for the IEC to support us administratively. That's underway, and we're working with CMSD 82 to ensure that their policy or your policy is incorporated as we ensure security of information or data shared with the Indigenous Education Council. In discussion amongst nation representatives at the IEC, we identified areas of priority where support and service or focus areas above the ministerial order were, I guess, were needed is the best way I can say it, like areas of mental health support to support attendance, family inclusion, service deliveries, like after school care clubs, parent clubs, any learning that can happen after school, before school, during school, how we can support staff within our areas, our nation areas. Those are foundational in relationship building amongst all of us while we're working to help develop successful learners within the school district. We discussed potential for IEC contributions to a Pro D-Day. We understood that this initiative dated us, and so we wanted to get back to that and see if we can support within our territory the development of that Pro D-Day. Our team was also informed of a French immersion program relocation of instruction within the Hazelton schools. And we had a member reach out and discuss the impact of programming that could have on students currently enrolled, and this includes Indigenous learners. So we have provided our support to maintain consistency in programming for all of those learners. An upcoming event that IEC members have, we were invited to a Northern chapter of Indigenous Education Council capacity building gathering. And so there's potential for our team to attend that to build capacity and understand amongst other nations as well as ourselves of what this looks like moving forward together so that we are working together. We have proposals that have come in. Some of these proposals have been discussed between Donna and Tracy in their presentation. Proposals that have come in recently focus primarily on Indigenous Peoples Day and schools' presentation of that amongst those territories. I don't know if there's anybody who has any questions.
Is there any questions for Kim? Covered a lot of information there for us to be aware of and to work with you on. Any questions for Kim? I don't see any. Thank you for your report. We'll receive it.
Okay.
And okay, great, thank you. And we will now move to our standing committee reports. And Ed, are you going to try and do the business ones from a distance? Of course. Oh, you're muted.
I think you better do it, Margaret.
Okay, well, we'll start with the business committee meeting, the minutes of April 15th. They're on pages 99 to 102. And I need a motion to receive the minutes for information. So moved by Wayne, seconded by Karen, all in favor? Passed. Next, we go to for information, the ministry estimated operating grants, and I'm going to turn to Ginger to explain that one for us on page 103. Just get there. So, yeah, sorry, I'm doing the same thing.
So overall, there's an attached summary of the operating grants. The province has anticipated a decrease in enrollment, so it anticipates in correlation with that increase in projected funding across the province, not necessarily with us. Right now, the province has made no operational grant rates changes, so the funding formula for 26-27 remains the same as 25-26. Operating grants are based on the forecasted student enrollment that are submitted in February. And these grants will be recalculated in the fall after the September 1701 count and will be adjusted with new funding amounts being released to districts by mid-December. As you can see, hopefully you can see, it's kind of small. For School District 82, our estimated opening operating grant for 26-27 is approximately 59.9 million. And that money is coming from both Ministry of Education and Childcare and to us through Indigenous communities via Indigenous Services Canada. What else do I see here? So the operating grants, all of the information in the written portion here is based on province-wide. And when you scroll down to page, just trying to get the page number here, 106, you see the numbers as they pertain specifically to our district. So in regular student enrollment funding, we're looking at 37.5 million, just rounding. And in inclusive education, which includes level 1, 2, 3, English language learning, Indigenous education, and adult education, as well as equity of opportunity supplement, we're looking at an amount of about 11.2 million. And we add on another 9.9 million for supplement for unique geographical factors. And so plus some other smaller pots, we get to the 59.5 million. We're expecting about 200,000 in our February account, and we are going to receive about 72,000 for the Indigenous Education Council for their needs. So that brings us up to the approximately 59.9 million. And that's it.
Great, thank you very much for your report. We've received this report. The business committee has reviewed it as well. Is there any questions for Ginger or her team reviewing the data on this report? I don't see any questions, so can we have a motion to receive as presented? Karen and Angie, all in favor? Thank you. We now move to 11.13, the ministry's response to the capital plan, 5-year capital plan. And I'm going to turn it to you, Ginger.
Okay.
Outline it and go through all the motions.
So attached to this agenda item is a letter dated March 27th from the Ministry of Infrastructure that provides the ministry's response to the board's annual 5-year capital plan submission. That submission was done last June. And what's that?
September 30th, minor.
Oh, minor capital submission for September 30th. The ministry has reviewed the plan. Unfortunately for our district, there is no new major capital projects that have been approved to proceed to business case. The ministry has approved the following minor capital projects, which may proceed to design, tender, construction with completion required March 31st, 2027. So there's roofing upgrades through the SET program for Skeena Middle School for 285,000. There is an HVAC upgrade through the SET program of 400,000 for Sulaks Community School. And Uplands Elementary has an exterior wall systems upgrade. They have funding through SEP for 500,000 and some other funding totaling 250 under the carbon neutral capital plan. So all annual program funding agreements outline the terms and conditions of the approved projects accompanies the ministry response. In accordance with section 143 of the School Act, boards of education are required to adopt a capital bylaw to access the Ministry of Education's funding and receive certificates of approval. Capital bylaw number 2026-27 CPSD 82-1 is therefore presented to the board for adoption.
Thank you. So before we move to the motion, did you want to add anything, Rob? Was the description well done?
Yes,
Could I have a motion that the capital bylaw number 2026-2027 CPSD 8201 capital plan 2026-2027 be read a first time for the 29th day of April 2026. May I have a motion for that, please? Angie? A seconder, please. Ed? All in favor? Pass. Thank you. We now move to the second motion that the capital bylaw number 2026-2027, CPS SD 82-01, sorry, I got an extra F in there, capital plan 2026-2027 be read a second time the 29th day of April 2026. A mover, please. Angie? Karen?
No, Ed.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, can't look all directions at once. All in favor? Okay, pass. We now have to have unanimous consent is required to proceed to the third reading. Are all in favor of moving to the third reading? Thank you. We're unanimous that way. So we now have that the capital bylaw number 2026-27, CPS 8201, capital plan 2026-2027, be read a third time, passed and adopted the 29th day of April 2026. Mover, please. Someone?
Ed.
Ed, thank you. Sorry, your hands off the screen, Ed. A seconder for the motion? Angie? All in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last item is 11.14 on page 108. And this is the revised review of the revised policy 2010, respectful school community, workplace and anti-harassment, first reading. And there is a motion with that as soon as I can get to the motion pages at 108. Oops. The plan's taking up way too much space here. Okay, there we go. So this policy has been revised, and in presenting it, I'd like to thank our policy committee who's working through lots of our governance policies and bringing this one forth for first reading. It's been reviewed to ensure alignment with the current Ministry of Education and Child Care requirements. The district-wide policy process where we're reviewing all our policies and modernizing them as much as possible. This policy combines our previous policies for harassment and respectful workplace into one clearly outlined policy, and it now goes forward for the first reading and then goes out for consultation input from others. The key changes that occur is we've removed all the procedural detail because that's operational, and we're giving guidance at the policy governance level to ensure that we're meeting the requirements for having respectful community and workplace and anti-harassment policies that are guiding a workplace that is safe for all. So I need a motion that the revised policy 2010, respectful school community, workplace, and anti-harassment be presented for first reading at the April 29, 2026 regular board meeting. Somebody so moved that we do the first reading. Go ahead, Karen. Seconder, Ed. Any questions? We all have time for input on the policies. There's this 4-step process that occurs for feedback. All in favor? Pass. Thank you. And thank you to the committee getting that done. Karen, we now move to the education committee.
Scrolling away here trying to find where I'm supposed to.
I know. It's a smaller and smaller screen. Okay, here I am. Oh, let's see, something maybe.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, now let's start.
I have for you on pages 124 to 127, the minutes of the education committee meeting, which was held April 15th. And I would like to submit them here for the information.
So moved by Karen, the seconder. Receive these for information, Angie. All in favor of receipt? Okay, carried.
Okay, and our next item. Board approval, final level 5 field trip application. For Hazelton Secondary School. I don't know how to say this, all the letters together. CUNESCO. I don't know. Anyway, it's a conference in Ontario, Ottawa, Ontario, May 25th to 30th. The attached out of province level 5 field trip application for Hazelton Secondary School students to attend the Canadian Commission for UNESCO, okay, there we go. National Education Conference in Ottawa, Ontario, May 25th to 30th, 2026, has been reviewed. On February 25th, 2026, the field trip application received board approval in principle in accordance with policy 1080, field trips and outdoor education. Final board approval is required for this out-of-province field trip upon submission of the completed application within the prescribed timeline prior to departure. The field trip provides students with the opportunity to participate in a national level programming focused on leadership, reconciliation, global citizenship, and educational engagement. The trip includes travel from Terrace to Ottawa, participation in the UNESCO conference, and supervised educational activities. A comprehensive supervision, safety, and contingency plan has been provided, including direct staff supervision, emergency procedures, and communication protocols. The completed field trip application has been reviewed and is being presented to the board for final approval. And the recommended action is that the board approve Hazelton Secondary School out of province level 5 field trip application to attend the UNESCO National Education Conference in Ottawa, Ontario, May 25th to 30th, 2026, at no cost to the board and subject to ensuring that the safety of students and adherence to all applicable travel advisories, regulations, and protocols.
So moved by Karen, a seconder for the motion. Thank you, Ed. Any questions to the Education Committee on the trip? All in favor? Mike, are you going to vote on the trip or not?
Nope.
Okay. Do you want it recorded?
No.
Okay, thank you. It has passed. And we'll now move on as soon as I scroll down to my report, to the board chair report. Whoops. There. So my report has been submitted that you can all read, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. I wanted to highlight, because I wasn't quite sure whether Ed would be here from BCSTA in terms of being our rep at it. I wanted to highlight that we did attend the provincial meeting and we did put forward 3 motions, and 2 of the motions did pass. And I really feel we want to celebrate that, and we'll keep working towards advocacy. And the ones that did pass was the early education and childcare, that we look at the system of care and work towards a coordinated, inclusive system. And provincially that passed. So our BCSTA provincial trustees and organization will be supporting us to try and move forward with that advocacy. And then we also passed, and Ed, thank you very much for speaking strongly for it to our fellow trustees, is the emphasizing of arts education for student success and how important arts, music, all of the arts, as well as sports, but we focused in on arts for this motion, and it passed. And looking around the room, it was very highly supported. So trustees do know that arts within our schools are a very important part of our education system. And I have to emphasize what our superintendent said. Music festival this last couple of weeks has been it's been inspiring to watch the students. There's been some phenomenal presentations, and the gala on Saturday night was just very special. Just to see the talent and the abilities of our students was amazing. All students from all areas of the Northwest. That way. And then secondly, I just wanted to emphasize that I will continue as BCSTA provincially continues to have the committee for northern and rural education, and so the Northeast and the Northwest. I'll represent you on that committee, and we'll try to keep working towards meeting our northern needs. Do you have any questions for me, or can we receive my report for information? Mike, do you have a question?
Yeah, am I muted?
Yes, you're unmuted.
Okay. Oh, I'm using the wrong mouse. There. Okay, am I back?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Okay, I see in here that it says, this is your report, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, it says in your report that trustees and the leadership team are receiving preparation materials and participating in information sessions because this is an election year. Is that going to be available to all trustees?
It's coming by newsletters to all trustees from BCSTA, so it should be on your trustee information that you get. Yeah, and Ginger will also have.
And also there was, at the BCSTA conference, there was workshops on it as well. But the information will be coming forward through BCSTA, and the election, October 17th. And if you have questions or need access to materials you may not have, you can contact Shauna Wilson at the board office, or you can contact me, and we will make sure you get materials made available to you if they don't come to you from BCSTA.
Thank you.
None, we can move on to the BCSTA report. And can I put you on the spot, or is there anything further to report from I stole all your thunder?
No, I think we should let people know that the third motion that we took to the AGM didn't pass, but it was a motion to look at the whole program, educational program in the province. And there have been 3 in the past 100 years, which have guided the curriculum and the way in which schools operate within the province. And as we're beginning to look at the financial implications and all that related to the various programs, I think it's important that we probably continue to support the need for such an evaluation.
Yeah, thank you. Other comments or questions for the BCSTA report? We are again, and we thank Ginger for assisting us. Ed is chairing the Northwest branch area for us. So we do get support from our district staff so that trustees in the Northwest can get together and dialogue and do our work. So thank you. Ginger and your team. Trustee reports. Any trustees wish to report?
I have one thing I can add. There is a performance coming up, Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary School, April 24th, 25th, and May 1st and 2nd. It's Peter Pan Goes Wrong. And apparently it's quite entertaining. So if you're in the area, come on, check it out. It should be good.
Great. Other trustees, Mike?
Yeah, I'm still not muted, right?
Good. We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I I was unable to attend the BCSTA conference this time because of my obligations to my mother. However, I was able to attend a different governmental event. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other trustees?
I could just add that I continue to attend the advisory planning committees for the district of Kittimer, and there's no news to share.
No.
It's a report.
Okay.
They don't pertain to this.
Okay, yeah. It was, okay. Ed, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'd just like to let people know that the trustees in the Northeast and the Northwest have agreed to again meet and discuss issues and learn together, probably in the fall of 2027. So it's an active group, and it's increasing in its productivity, I think is the word.
Great, thank you. Okay. Anything else from trustee reports? If not, we can move forward to question period. Any questions? Terry, your hand went up first.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. Terry Marlowe, Kitimat District Teachers and CMTF co-president. Just a quick comment on your ministry response to the annual 5-year capital plan submission. And I just wanted to, as you would expect, express my disappointment, as you may as well, in the fact that they are not proposing any major capital projects. I do know that the board certainly has put forth at least having some work on earthquake proof, etc. Some work on that. I'm sorry, the term for it, I just kind of dropped it there. The seismic upgrading, I think, at least for Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary, and of course it looks like no projects like that are even being thought of. I find it very sad that Coast Mountain School District and certainly the students and community in Kitimat are not being given the same share when we've seen such problems with the state of portions of Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary. And it would certainly be, despite best efforts by our board and certainly many of us of trying to push and promote this with our provincial government, it seems to be falling on deaf ears. I certainly hope that changes over the next year. I'm sure that your Board of Trustees will continue to lobby for our students and community up here in Kitimat. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Can I get comments to that?
Sure. Yeah, Ginger would like to speak to you.
Terry, just so you know, when we got the announcement, what happens is before we get the letter, we kind of get a little heads up from the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Infrastructure for projects within our district. And I can assure you that both myself and Rob, and it was definitely conveyed from the board as well, of our disappointment in not having any even conversation. So we continue to push going forward until we see some sort of commitment from them.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ginger. Okay, well, we can move towards adjournment, but as we adjourn, we would like to thank Nathan for all of our IT support. It worked really well for us tonight, and we appreciate the support that occurs. And then we can have a motion to adjourn. Karen, so moved. We're adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.